So I decided today it would be a really good idea to compare lunging with one rein and two reins. So I am much more practiced at lunging with two reins, and I think personal preference, I just prefer the two reins. But I appreciate you have to have an adaptable and flexible approach with every horse. And some horses don't like two reins, they simply run away from them. And some horses don't like one rein, they don't like the whip. So there's kind of, pros and cons for each choice or each way. So I thought I'd just show a little bit about how this horse lunges with the one and the two reins. I have to walk towards him with a whip. You'll see me quite often point at the shoulder and tell him to go over because I struggle with the size of the circle with just the one rein. And this is my main problem that I have with the one rein, is that I can't control the shape of the circle so well. And as I say, some horses don't like the whip pointing towards them. It makes them go too quick. I also find that you obviously have to stop, change the rein over, physically unclip it and clip it again. And if you've got a horse that is very, very sharp, or you struggle to get near, you end up sometimes doing too much on one rein because you can't stop it and then change over. Whereas with the two lines, you can just carry on and keep changing the rein until they're quieter. You'll also see on this rein that I don't think he's overly round, which isn't a problem. I quite like the way in which he's going. He looks very relaxed. But for me, he's slightly head high, nose out a bit, which is okay. But if I want to work specifically on pushing him together and making his trot a little bit more active, and in sort of engaging his hind leg a bit more, then I'm going to struggle to do that, I believe, with this one rein. The more I push him out, the better, because he then has a bit more contact on the lunge line and then makes a rounder shape. But as he is trotting around like this, the one rein doesn't really come into play. So I dropped that and I thought, well, I'll use the two reins and see what happens. Now, I've got very little contact on these two lunge lines. And I would say to have this kind of round shape, I've actually got less contact on the two lunge lines here than I have with the one. Obviously the one, he doesn't have much contact, but more because he's not moving away from me. This one's very different. You'll see there's quite a lot of sort of slack in the contact most of the time, and he just naturally trots around, just rounder. So to me, this is kind of like my the absolute reason why I personally use the two reins all the time, because for whatever reason, straight away, that he's just got a different frame. You can also see that I am able just to change the rein straight away. I don't have to unclip him. And to me, that makes it safer sometimes, as I say, if you're doing young horses, which really, you have to be a little bit careful sometimes when they're a bit nervous or a little bit flighty to start with. So the less you have to kind of stop and try and get near them again. And also you need a helper to be able to stop and hold them sometimes to be able to then change the clip over. I've deliberately left in a minute. You'll see he trots around really nicely here. And I think this is a lovely trot here. And it's got quite a nice swing to it and quite nice and soft. But you'll see in a minute there's a pigeon that flies up and sort of makes him canter off. And I think actually this is perfect demonstration for me being able to have a really positive impact on a horse that's spooked. So he spooks and you'll see he's got more energy. I can just keep the lunge lines just a bit stiller. So rather than him running off and panicking a little bit, I can just gently keep hold of the lunge lines, actually use that more activation and energy to be able to make him a little bit rounder and a bit softer and actually just have a better trot. Whereas if I had one rein, my argument would be, I might have to just hold on quite tight there. I can't stop him throwing his head up and end up making a slightly more kind of, I don't know, whether it would be a little bit more, maybe a more kind of controlling reaction rather than using it as a positive gain. So this is my kind of comparisons today, using the difference between the one and two reins.